Now on today's video, I'm going to try to show the method that I've used, and it's one of several methods that work well. They've worked well for me. I've documented and put them all out on the channel, but I think this is the easiest one. If you follow all of the little tips in this video, I think you have a real good chance at getting a tire on and saving the money of going to the dealer all the time, or to wait. Sometimes you have to bring a tire to the dealer and wait, or go back twice. When you do it yourself, it's done, and once you learn how to do it for the rest of your life, you've got that knowledge and you can share it with other people, and you can change your own tires whenever they're ready to go. And I, for one, like to do the work on my motorcycles, all of the ones in my collection myself, and this is some good information in full 4K. Now, on our channel, there are several videos of taking the wheels on and off the bike for the various bikes that I have in the collection. You can just search them up. But one thing holds true: when you go to take a tire off a rim, Windex is your best friend. I posted this recently using a Motion Pro bead breaker, and I'm going to just reissue this. It takes a minute to watch this, but this is one of the really good tips that I think everybody that's changing a tire will see. Now, normally you need to go around the whole tire over and over and over and over again, but the Windex, just watch this closely. I've had this on other videos. Watch how you can press this down. And by the way, this is where you usually damage, put a big scratch in the rim if that tool slips, so you want to really be careful, especially if you treasure your rims like I do. Now, by pressing that down and pressing it down, what happens? You keep putting the Windex all around the edge, and where it's starting to break away from the bead, the Windex is doing the work instead of your arms. And it's little by little by little. See, now the Windex doesn't allow it to go back and get a bite. Once you move it down, it's capillary. It's amazing. Once you do that once, using the Motion Pro bead breaker. Now, I haven't used the Windex on the Harbor Freight bead breaker, but that's out on our channel too. But if I had my choice, the Motion Pro one is just the better of the two, easier to use and quicker. And the big thing, less chance that you're going to scratch the rim. Now, I try real carefully using the Motion Pro rim protectors not to scratch anything. And that, what they call a dog bone, that tool you see down at the bottom of the tire, that's used to just hold the tire down in place. It's called a dog bone. You can buy that for Amazon, actually has that too, as well as other people. That's a very useful tool. But a lot of people prefer working off the floor and using their knees to hold a bead down into the lowest part of the rim. Both ways work fine, of course. This is the one that usually damages the rim. Now, the Motion Pro, those protectors are real good, but if you let them slip, or you're not watching real carefully what you're doing, this is where a lot of people damage the rim or put a gouge in that beautiful rim that they just painted or polished or whatever. That's part of the trick. And once you have the old tire off, I like to clean everything up. Before I even started this video, it was a really, really hot day. I put the tire out in the sun on a black table in as much direct sunlight as you can. The warmer you can make the tire, the easier it's going to be, even taking the old tire off. If it's a cold day and you can warm the tire up, warming it is your best friend. Now, it, of course, is always to your advantage if the tire is warm. The one side, you only need to do this to one side of the rim, and the other side, you don't need to put any lube on. I use the equivalent of Dawn detergent is fine. And there's people buy lube, I have some, but this seems to work just as well. I only need to do the bead. I try to be careful not to get it all over the place. And now I try to do this a lot of different ways. I've tried using 6 pieces of tape, 4 pieces, 3 pieces, infinite amounts of time. I've done this with zip ties of various thicknesses. But the easiest way for me to explain this to people, and this is Gorilla Tape, not duct tape, Gorilla Tape, and to squeeze that down. And now you don't want to get any tape. Where you start the tape is at the end of the bead. You don't want to get any extra tape down in the bead, because eventually you have to pull this all off. And I have tried again, I just wanted to save some people some experiment time. Now, I experiment all the time. Every time I change a tire, I try to do it just a little bit different, hoping I'll stumble upon some little magic here and there. The first time I did them, I did the tape method that I showed, and it's been, oh my God, that must be 10 years ago. I thought a lot of people benefited from that, because this is really a job to, when you have custom rims and you don't want somebody down at the local dealer who might not have had his coffee yet, oh, the tire iron slipped or whatever. I'd rather risk that I'll do the damage. Now, and again, this is, once you do this once, this takes about 2 or 3 minutes to put the tape on. If you have to, you can re-squeeze it down. The tighter you can make that, the better. And again, really, I've tried a lot of ways, more than 4 ways, more than 4 strips. Seems like 4 is ideal. Now, it's also important, and in my case, I know people do this with zip ties and things, and I have done it that way. But I'm trying to, on this video, show the way that I think is the easiest to do it. And once you get the 4 pieces on, and you've got a little bit of lube on the bead where it's actually going to touch the physically touch the rim, you are pretty much all set to go here. And again, if that tire is warm, this will go on like a piece of cake. If it's cold, this was cold, a little bit colder than normal today, but it'll still go on. You just need to use all that horsepower you have in your upper body. Now, the next step can be tricky, and that's why I'm leaving this in real time, not putting it in fast forward or anything. I want to make this as useful, the information as useful as possible. Now, to pull up the tape, right now you don't want to have a piece of that lower tape going down inside. You want to start just maybe an 1/8 inch past the bead, and you want to make sure you get all the tape out. That's a critical thing. Now, ask me how I know, I have at some point in time, I don't know, and I've done a lot of tires this way, left a little piece in there, and what you have to do then is re-break the bead and get in there with a file or something pointy and get that little piece out. But you'll see it, if a little piece of it happens to stay in there, you'll see it when you do the leak down test, and right away you'll see a bubble. But anyway, I wanted to show this in real time because you need to get this part of the tape up, this flap, and pull it through the bottom. And if it all comes out in one piece, you know you're good to go. And sometimes you have to get in there with needle nose pliers, getting the last piece out, because the tire is now just kind of shaped itself back to the size of a normal tire. And this, I wanted to leave this in the video. See, I couldn't get my fingernail. I don't have any fingernails anyway. And so a lot of times you have to use the razor worked, or sometime a pair of pliers. But the whole thing is not to let any tape stay down in there. And it's pretty self-explanatory once you do this once. And here I had to use needle nose pliers, but again, I'm trying to leave all the useful information on the video. And thank you to everybody that responds that they get good information from this, because it's really a job doing this and showing it. But once you show somebody, I don't think there's any reason you need to go to a dealer to have a tire mounted. Now, you want to seat the rim. And once you're satisfied that the rim is seated, even if it doesn't look completely straight and like it's totally, you can see here right where my hand is, it looks like it's not seating right. What I do is I put my compressor up to 125 pounds, and you can do it with the valve in or the valve out. Just pop that tire and you can actually hear it. There it goes, right there. If you had that, it sounds like a gun going off. A lot of times it scares you too. Now, I put in 50 pounds of air in a tire, and this is just to do the leak down test. Spray some Windex around there, look for any bubbles, do the valve around the base of those are curvy girl valves. Put a little bit over there, let it sit for a minute, go have a cup of coffee or whatever. And if you don't see a bubble within a minute, you probably got a nice seal on that side. Of course, I'll do both sides of this. And if you're not going to ride the motorcycle this exact day, I would let it sit overnight and right in the cellar, and instead of doing all the work to put it back on a motorcycle, and then you find out it was leaking somewhere and you got to do it over. But it's always cheap insurance. Let it sit, or even if you put it in a garage, let it sit in the garage. At the leak down test, once that's done, you're good to go. Now, another thing, Michelin Tires advertises, and I think it's true to a certain degree, that their tires don't have a red dot on them anymore. And some I got had a red dot, so I don't know who to believe. But that they balance right from the factory, and if they're out of balance that they need a red dot, they don't sell the tire. This one happened to be one that I took the balance and weights off that were on there from the previous tire, and it was really, really, really close. I mean, if you put it in any situation and it doesn't want to move, you're pretty much good to go here. And this is just this. I don't know that they're all like that, but most of the Michelins, the advantage of Michelin tires, they're soft carcass tires. They mount up super easy. They last. I got 9,200 out of the set that this replaced, and to me, they're a premium tire. They're worth the extra money because I don't want to change them unnecessarily if I don't have to. That's for sure. So I hope you have been able to watch this on your device 4K. It's very easy to adjust it, but every device is different. And just one final thought here before we end the video. Changing the tires is one thing. Once you have a set of custom rims, and maybe even if you have the rims that come from the factory, you want to protect them. You don't want to scratch them. Boy, it makes me sad when I see a beautiful motorcycle with a beautiful paint job, or it's a lot of custom carbon fiber, or a real classic that really is in great shape, and a big gouge in the rim where somebody slipped. Now, I've really gone out of my way to share the information I've learned over many, many years of changing tires and how to do it without scratching the rims. Now, some people think, oh, I have powder coated rims, it won't matter. No, you can chip up powder coating. And I had polished rims on my FZR. Polished, many, many hours of polishing. I didn't want to scratch them either. Dale has these beautiful rims on his MV, and no matter what bike you have, and no matter what rims you have, having them whistle clean and shiny with a nice coat of wax on them, it just makes keeping them nice and clean a lot easier. And I know I'm not alone in that. I know when people look at any of the bikes that are in my collection, one of the first things people look at is the wheels, especially the back wheel, to see if you care about keeping it clean. And for my friends that don't, it's perfectly okay. We could still be friends, and it won't matter at all. But one of the things I really want to emphasize more than anything on the video, if you change tires yourself, then the only person you can blame for scratching those rims is you. And that makes you a lot, would make me anyway, a lot more careful about how I do it. And if you have an old set of rims, practice. Practice always makes perfect. So I hope you did enjoy the video, of course, and thanks so much, guys, one and all, for watching.